Hey, how are you? I am Chris Robin, aka at Detroit Beastie, here with Team Riser Fall to talk a little Thursday night football action per usual. This one we have another doozy on Thursday night on Prime. I mean, it's the Atlanta Falcons go to Carolina to take on the Panthers, and I mean it's a football game, right? That's all I can say. And to be fair, we're gonna get into a few things that at least I find exciting, right? It's Thursday, we're one day away from the weekend, and we get, as I said, some legit football with a few stars and studs. CPAT, DJ Moore. Let's see what Donta Foreman can do, given the entire backfield to himself. Before I get into the football game, make sure you go to the website at Team Riser Fall. When you do get there, use promo code. My promo code, Beastie, not mine, it's my cat's. Cat has her own promo code for the website. You will get $10 off your first month of premium services, and that includes everything, even a voucher to Fantasy Cruncher that if you stay subscribed, that just rolls over and over and over, and you can crunch anything you want: baseball, football, basketball, and what we're doing now. NASCAR, PGA, I don't know if Fantasy Cruncher has those, but hey, we have writers and everything right here, and coaches at Team Riser Fall that handle all that stuff. The Discord is absolutely free, but if you want the premium, not the premium services, and when I say premium services, there's a few other channels you can unlock where people are giving away their betting information. Mitch does that, and he keeps a track of it all, and he's been pretty damn good at it. So come here, hang out with us, use the Beastie Key, as I said last week, out of nowhere, and it kind of made sense. All right, let's talk about the football game, shall we? As I said, the Falcons head to Carolina tonight. Kickoff is at 8:15 p.m. As it stands now, the over-under 42.5. I mean, that's when we look at, let me look at my notes here. When we look at the overall slate here, that's like, it's kind of in the bottom half, actually. The one game that's worse off is Houston and the Giants. That's 39.5, and we'll go from there. But I do believe there's some gems we can pluck from this one. Before I get into my player, I just want to say one thing about this overall DFS slate, and why not right now? Because Atlanta, Carolina kicks off week 10 here. This is one of the most oddest slates I can ever remember in all years past. There's very good players, but their matchups are awful. They're good players going against very good defensive units, and then even the bad players, they're in good matchups, but their price tags are still high. So we're gonna have to wade through this thing. So if you're gonna stick it out here with me and Team Riser Fall, I'll do what I can. If we're up Schitt's Creek, I'll give you a couple paddles, bottom of the barrel being one of them. So let's talk about the football game. As I alluded to about 4 times already, when we look at the Falcons right now, they're playing in Bank of America Stadium. Falcons 4-5, ranked 4th in the league in rushing offense. The Atlanta Falcons are putting up actually 162.9 points a game, tied with Tampa Bay in the NFC South division in terms of the standings. When we look at Carolina, there's a lot that this team needs, right? And I'm just thinking about today, but as a fantasy football guy, right, or fantasy sports guy, you can't help but to think in the draft. And maybe this time next year, the circumstances will be different. But right now, Panthers are 2-7, not good. Their last two, why am I even getting into this? So when we look at Atlanta and Carolina, let's start with the quarterbacks. Marcus Mariota, Super Mario Mariota, however you want to put it. Carolina 19th overall against opposing quarterbacks here. Mariota, $17,000 on FanDuel, 10-2 on DK. And when you go, well, Chris, what are we doing with him at captain MVP spot? I think, as I've said for a few years now, most of these single game slates, I think we can get by with fading both the quarterbacks. I'm not, waving a Marcus Mariota flag like, heck yeah, we can use him, but in certain spots, depending on what contests you're entering and depending on how many entries you plan on doing. Mariota, 14 or 15 completions, that's on the low end, but I think that's pretty fair, given the propensity to run or just honestly just hammer home the running game here. And Atlanta has 3 very capable running backs, which I'll get to. Mariota, about 170 total passing yards. And what we like here, you're looking at, personally, 7 or 8 carries for about 40 to 45 yards. That would be outstanding. On the flip side, we have PJ Walker. This guy has come and played well, right? Remember that next gen stats that's never been recorded, that bomb he threw to DJ Moore in the end zone. But that all that excitement is kind of faded away. And what are we left with? We're left with Carolina, Atlanta at Thursday Night Football. PJ Walker, $15,000 on FanDuel, 9.6 on DK. And get this, the Atlanta Falcons 27th overall against opposing quarterbacks. So there is a little room for PJ to move around here. And in turn, there is room for us to plug him into our lineups. PJ Walker, 18, 19 completions, a healthy 230, maybe 235 passing yards, and a few carries, nothing crazy, no more than like 12 to 15 yards in this one. And I do believe he's accountable for at least one touchdown in the air or on the ground. Doesn't matter how we get it as long as we get it. Now, when we talk about the running backs here, this is the portion of the game where I think we can absolutely go buck wild on an attack. And I will say this as well. The wide receivers, actually the Carolina wide receivers are in a pretty damn good spot too, given the fact Atlanta is 31st overall against opposing wide receivers. But therein lies the problem. Does Carolina have the quarterback to realistically push the pace of play and get it down the field? Although the DVP matchup is very sweet for the Carolina wide receivers. So let's rewind. Let's go back to the running backs here, and this is the spot where I think Atlanta really, asserts their dominance here, and I'll get you the final score, and we will see this. I just now started to paint this picture. Cordell Patterson, Tyler Algier, and Caleb Huntley. It's going to be, I'm not kidding, you're looking at like a three-headed monster here in this one with Cordell Patterson leading the pack. It's great to have him back. Carolina, as I said, 30th overall against opposing running backs. Patterson, $14,000 on FanDuel. On Yahoo, 11.8. I'm looking at, personally, again, 14 to 15 carries, and that might be right in the middle. Might be a little low, and you might think it's a little high, but I'm all in on Patterson tonight. 15 carries, 70 yards, a touchdown, in addition to a few receptions for another 10 yards. When we look at Tyler Algier, this kid has, played well in Cordell Patterson's stead, and they're not going to just throw him to the curb and go, well, thank you for your service. We'll see you later. We got Cordell Patterson back. No, Algier is going to be involved in this one. He is 10 grand on FanDuel, 6.2 on DK, and Algier, what's your definition of being involved? And now we're in a point of the video where it's just me and a microphone, and I'm like kind of having not an argument, but a discussion with myself in front of all you. I don't know. These videos are very fun. I'm able to get all this stuff out. But to me, Tyler Algier, as I said, 8-9 carries for about 40 to 45 yards and a reception or two. He's not really a reception guy. He's not a pass catching specialist. But to me, Algier will be on the field a ton. If you remember what I said at the beginning of the video, the Atlanta Falcons are averaging around 162.9 rushing yards a game. Are we going to allot all those yards to Cordell Patterson? That would be beautiful. Then Patterson's in the captain MVP spot, but I think the Atlanta Falcons coaching staff is going to divvy it up, and I think we should as well. Moving down the list, Caleb Huntley. I'll move a little quicker here. 8 grand on FanDuel. I'm looking at Huntley just to be around, right? Maybe, I don't think he's going to vulture anything of note here, but Caleb Huntley, 6-7 carries for about 30 or 35 yards. So he has his role to play tonight in our DFS lines. On the flip side here, Donta Foreman, Chuba Hubbard. What are we doing? We know Hubbard didn't play last week. He's very highly questionable for this week's game, and regardless, it's going to be a Foreman game. And when we look at the Atlanta Falcons, 21st overall against opposing running backs, and Foreman, we've seen this guy, the last season or two, and even this season, he's not been given, he's not been anointed a team. We're going all in on Donta Foreman. He's going to be our running back our RB1 of the future. But when needed, when they go, hey, Donta, we need you to start. We need you to get some major reps, not only in practice, but in the game. This guy comes through, and you love to see it. He is the typical player that us DFS players love. We can plug and play. Next week, maybe he's gone. He goes somewhere else, or the starter comes back in. But right now, Foreman looks to just absolutely carry the load here for Carolina. And when you look at him, 11 grand on FanDuel, 7-8 on DK. Foreman, 12 plus carries, 60 plus yards. I'm thinking 2 or 3 receptions for another 20 yards. Is this going to be one of those games where, Foreman gets the start? He already is a starting running back as of right now. But is this going to be one of those games where 20 carries, 140, 50 yards that some of us saw coming, and the rest of us were like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't see that coming. Well, look at Foreman here. Let's play it safe. I rarely do that on a single game slate, but for the sake of the video, sake of the predictions and projections here, let's get Foreman at a floor of about 10 carries, about 60 yards. Does he find the end zone? That's the only thing that's sticky here, given my final score here. I have Carolina to score 13 or 14 points. So you're looking at 2 touchdowns, or only 1 touchdown, and bevy of field goals here. So to me, the yardage and the receptions is what's going to put Foreman, in the spot to really return value. When we look at the wide receivers here, I'm going to buzz through those. I spent 10 minutes talking about 4 or 5 players, but to be fair, that's how I mapped this video out, given the DVP and given the price tags. When we look at the Atlanta Falcons wide receivers in Carolina, Carolina's 22nd overall against opposing wide receivers. Drake London, Olamide, Darrell Byrd, Khalil Hodge. What are we doing there? It's weird for me to say. It's not like I'm going to fade all the wide receivers here, but I'm not going to have heavy ownership with any of them. I'm not going to weight myself down. Sometimes we see a wide receiver, one guy on a DFS slate, and I'm going to hitch my wagon to that. I'm going all in on that one guy. There's not one receiver here this evening that I'm like, I need that guy come hell or high water. Drake London, 10-5 on FanDuel, 8-2 on DK, 6-7 targets, 4 to 5 receptions. You love to see that. That's 50 yards as well. So Drake, again, has a role to play here, but is it going to be, all Drake all the time? No, not necessarily. Olamide, 3 targets, Bird, 2 targets, Hodge, 1 or 2 targets. When we go down to the Carolina wide receivers, one thing that stood out to me, and no, it's not DJ Moore. However, he is $12,000 on FanDuel, 9-2 on DK. I'm not glossing over him, but we know what we're going to get with DJ Moore. Finally, with PJ, he started to come alive. DJM, 9-10 targets, 4 or 5 receptions, 70 plus yards, and we'll move on. When we look at Terrace Marshall or Visca or Shi Smith, which way are we going to go here? I have Visca 2-3 targets, not a carry or 2, nothing crazy, nothing noteworthy. But to me, Terrace Marshall, this stuck out to me. That's what I was getting at. Terrace Marshall, 6+ targets. I think 6 is right about, I think 6 or 7 is his ceiling here. But Terrace Marshall, what can he do with those? He's going to be targeted 6 or 7 times. However, I think he only catches 3, maybe 4 balls at that, but hangs 50 yards. And when you look at his price tag, very doable. When we look at the tight ends, Kyle Pitts, normally I would have liked to start this video with Kyle Pitts, given his generational talent, his namesake that folks have given him. But right now, he's still working it out, and that's fine. DFS, that's beautiful. This time next year, hopefully he's already clicked and worked it out. And this time next year, maybe I'll start the video with Kyle Pitts if he turns into an absolute monster. But as of right now, he is 8-5 on FanDuel, $7,000 on DK, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 50 yards. You can, to be honest with you, when you look, this is just, I'm not projecting or predicting anything, but when you look at what I have in front of me here, Terrace Marshall. I have Terrace Marshall for 3 receptions and 50 yards. I have Kyle Pitts, 3 receptions, 50 yards. So to me, it can be a little bit muddy, and given the lower-ish price tag on Pitts, let's take a chance on him. You never know what you're going to get. In Carolina, 12th overall against tight ends. That's about it in the tight end section. Michael Pruitt, Tommy Tremble, the second-year kid, couple targets, couple catches, nothing crazy. The kickers, Young Ho Koo, Eddie Pinheiro. I believe the only one that I would not feel comfortable with, I would actually use both of them, right? Young Ho and Eddie here, but I do believe Atlanta just hangs touchdowns, right? So you're only going to get 3 or 4 extra points out of Koo. Maybe he attempts a 55-yard field goal and it fails, and if it hits, hey, more power to you. I'm fading the kickers here, but I will say you don't have to play like me, just my thoughts, my ideas here. Eddie Pinheiro, I think that this is a case here where we might see, as I said, Carolina scores 1 touchdown, right? That's 6 points plus the extra point, that's 7, and then 2 more field goals for Eddie Pinheiro, and they wind up with a 13 total points, kind of on the leg of Eddie Pinheiro. So to me, Eddie makes for a nice little play. In terms of the DSTs, you know what, I might go with Atlanta Falcons, but again, I don't know if the Carolina Panthers are unable to hang 14 to 17 points because of the Atlanta Falcons defense. Maybe it's just that they fall apart on their own, or their drives stall out, or they can't get it done on 3rd down. Granted, the opposing defense will get some points here, but I don't think there's a case here where the Atlanta Falcons go nuts with a pick 6 or a strip sack fumble or something like that. I just think it's the pace of play moves in favor of the Atlanta Falcons. Before I split, let me give you some betting trends and a final score. And when we go through this thing, it's going to be as I said at the beginning of the video, it is Thursday Night Football. This game marks the start of the weekend, right? To me, at least. So football or not, what if this game was the Lions in Houston? I would Now, you know what? I probably wouldn't watch it, so don't take my word for it. The Falcons 13-6 against the spread against a team with a losing record. Panthers 8-21-1 against the spread their last 30 home games. Not good. The under is 6-0 in Atlanta's last 6 games on Thursday night. 6-0. Atlanta 6-0 last 6 games Thursday night. Under 13-5-1 in the last 19 meetings between these two. Falcons 10-4 against the spread their last 14 games. Give me the Atlanta Falcons to win this one 28-13 on the strength of Cordell Patterson just hammering that ball in alliance with Tyler Algier and Caleb Huntley. Be good, be safe. Hit the website and use the promo code Beastie, and I'll see you on the flip side. Be good, be safe, and let's talk again for Sunday Night Football, shall we? Again, Atlanta Falcons win 28-17. Bye-bye.